Came home a day early from a medical conference, ready to crash, only to find 87 people in my house under a banner reading "Family Means Forever." My parents and brother had thrown a surprise family reunion. And they did it without telling me. I didn't freak out. Didn't yell. I just walked away. 3 weeks later, my phone lit up with 113 missed calls, and my brother was on the line, losing his mind. When I made the turn onto my street that day, all I could think about was getting to my bed. I was wiped out. For days of sitting in crappy chairs had my back screaming, and my neck was still stiff from showing posture techniques to random strangers. So when I saw the whole street lined with cars, I let out this long, exhausted sigh. There were SUVs packed in, a few minivans, and even a jacked-up truck that was halfway parked on someone's lawn. Clearly, someone had thrown a massive get-together. I figured it was something the neighbors were doing, maybe a kid's birthday party or one of those family cookouts where guys you've never met stand around arguing about ribs. I was still scanning the curb for a parking spot when I glanced over at my place and froze. There were people inside. I could see someone moving around through the living room window. Some guy walked past with a loaded plate. Another person opened the fridge like they owned the place. I could hear voices, laughter. The porch door was cracked open. Somebody hollered, "Desserts are inside." I hit the brakes so hard I jolted forward. My stomach dropped like an elevator. Strangers. In my house. My first instinct wasn't betrayal. I wasn't even confused. I was afraid. I parked a bit down the street, away from all the cars, and left my bag in the trunk. I held onto my keys, not really as a weapon, more like something solid to hold onto while my brain tried to catch up with what was happening. Maybe I was mistaken. Maybe I had pulled up to the wrong house. Maybe someone broke in. Maybe it was some terrible mix-up, like an Airbnb gone wrong or someone typed in the wrong address. I started walking fast, but kept it quiet. Each step made my chest feel tighter. And then I saw it, just as I reached the hedge. My parents' car. Parked neatly at the curb like they were just popping by. I froze. This wave of relief washed over me, and for a second, I almost laughed. No break-in. No squatters. No robbery. Just my parents. For a moment, I felt okay. Still totally confused, but not scared anymore. I stepped in a little closer, trying to piece it all together, and that's when I saw it. A huge white banner stretched across my porch. "Family Means Forever" written in big curly red letters. There were little floral designs in the corners, like someone had crafted it for a wedding. And right under that banner, there they were. My mom, Helen, beaming like she was hosting the 4th of July, lemonade in one hand, potato salad in the other. My dad, Frank, sunk into one of my lawn chairs, looking like a proud landlord. And in the middle of it all, my brother, Nolan, grinning like a politician, playing host, wearing a matching shirt like half the crowd. This wasn't some break-in. It was a full-blown party. A full-scale family reunion, catered, coordinated, held at my house. And I hadn't even been invited. Nobody had seen me yet. I just stood there behind the hedge like some neighbor creeping on a stranger's event. I watched them walk across my lawn, use my dishes, lounge in my chairs. Cousins I hadn't seen in ages. Aunts, uncles, second cousins, their kids. Every single one of them invited. Except me. I didn't cry. I didn't lose it. I didn't say a word. I just turned around, walked straight back to my car, outwardly calm, completely numb inside. I drove. Didn't have a destination. I ended up in a dingy hotel, the kind with flickering lights and a suspicious stain on the curtain. Settled up front. Didn't even unpack. I lay there on top of the bedspread, still in my clothes and shoes, listening to the rattle of the old AC unit and thinking about one thing, that damn banner. Family means forever. Unless you're inconvenient. Unless you're easy to forget. Unless you don't fit into the matching shirts. I thought back to this dinner we had a few months ago, just me, Nolan, and our parents. Somebody had brought up the idea of a reunion. I remember lighting up, saying how awesome that would be. I even offered my place. Said I'd help plan it. Nolan laughed. Nah, nobody's really feeling that this year, he said. And Mom chimed in too. Too much hassle. They looked right at me and lied. Then went ahead and planned the whole thing anyway. At my house. Without telling me. They didn't expect me to come back early. And they were about to regret that. There's this word that stuck to me since the day I was born, like a label I never agreed to wear. That word? Disappointment. Not rebellious. Not dramatic. Just plain disappointing. I didn't get kicked out of school or join a cult or crash a car. I just failed to be what they hoped I'd turn into. And from what I can tell, that was either a clone of my brother or no kid at all. Nobody ever came out and said, we didn't want a second child. But they didn't have to. The vibe said it all. I was the unplanned sequel. The accidental extra. And worst of all, I was a girl. Apparently, if there had to be another kid, they would have preferred another boy. Because Nolan needed a buddy. And because boys just get each other. I remember hearing that once, when I was around 9. Not sure who said it. Maybe an aunt. But it stuck with me. They never outright said I was a mistake. But I picked it up from the way my mom sighed when I asked for a doll instead of a truck. From the way my dad paused when people asked if they were done having kids, like he was debating how to explain me. From how Nolan would say, this is my sister, in the same tone people use when they say, I got food poisoning. And if being born was strike one, everything after that was just more of the same. I was into the wrong things. Read too much. Didn't like math. I was obsessed with anatomy and biology, not because I wanted to be a doctor, though maybe that wouldn't have impressed them, but because I liked helping people recover after injuries. Wrong again. I had the wrong friends. Quiet kids. Artsy kids. Kids who didn't play sports or sign up for debate club. Nolan once said I attracted weirdos. My parents thought that was hilarious. I laughed too. I was 12. And Nolan? He was the golden boy. Smart. Confident. Competitive. Winning trophies like it was his job. Playing sports. Being everything they wanted. Nolan got straight A's, went to some fancy school, and earned a pre-law degree, something he loved to remind me of any time I dared to mention being tired. Oh, you're tired, he'd say. Try pulling an all-nighter writing constitutional law essays. Meanwhile, I was over here helping someone learn to walk again after spinal surgery. Didn't matter. He was still the golden boy. And me? I was the accidental daughter with too many opinions and a career that didn't come with prestige. When I chose physiotherapy, the feedback came quick and quiet. Oh, so not a real doctor then? Still, that's great. Good to have a trade. Sort of like massage therapy, right? For the record, no, not even close. I graduated with honors. No one came to the ceremony. Nolan had a meeting. My parents said they'd already done the whole college thing once. 2 years later, I bought my own house. Took forever, years of scraping together a down payment while still juggling student loans. When I called to share the news with Mom, instead of congratulations, I got, "Are you sure you can afford something that big?" That house became my little victory. My space. My rules. At least, that's what I thought. Meanwhile, Nolan tied the knot. Married Denise, who was lovely, in that scary efficient, organized down to the last lunchbox kind of way. They had one kid, then another. My mom cried when the second was born, not because she was moved, but because, thank God, it was a boy. Denise made it into the family group chat before I did. Still, I showed up. I helped. When Dad messed up his back, I was there with heat wraps. When Mom tweaked her knee, I adjusted her brace and walked her through exercises. When Uncle Rick couldn't sit through church anymore, I worked on his sciatica. Cousins, in-laws, neighbors' kids, if someone was in pain and insurance didn't cover enough therapy, guess who they called? I didn't charge them. Rarely even got a thank you. But Nolan? He had a real job. A mortgage. A family. He played weekend softball and still got credit for being the one who always shows up. even if all he did was bring a six-pack and talk about interest rates. Once, he pulled a muscle during practice. I worked on that shoulder of his every week for over a month. "You're pretty good at this stuff," he said, like I hadn't spent 6 years earning my license. I wish I could say there was a clear breaking point. That I finally stood up and said, enough. But the truth is, I didn't. I just kept giving. Because they were family. Because fighting felt harder. Because some part of me believed that if I stopped being useful, I'd just vanish. And then came that dinner. Just the 4 of us, me, Nolan, Mom, and Dad. Nothing special. Grilled chicken, side salad, polite chit-chat. Somewhere between clearing plates and serving dessert, Dad said, "We should really do a big family reunion sometime soon." I lit up instantly. "That'd be amazing," I said. Offered to help plan it. Told them they could even use my house. I had the room now. Nolan laughed. "Yeah, not this year though. Too much going on." Mom agreed. No one really has the energy for that kind of thing. I let it go. But a few weeks later, I followed up with a casual text. "Any updates on that reunion idea?" Mom replied, "Nah, didn't go anywhere. Maybe next summer." I believed her. Because even when disappointment becomes part of your DNA, it's hard to accept that the people who raised you might lie straight to your face. But they did. While I was helping people walk again, rebuilding their bodies from the ground up, my own family was throwing a 87-person reunion in my house. Without me. Matching shirts and all. I didn't know why I drove away at first. Not exactly. I mean, I had options. Could have stormed through the yard, yanked down that "family means forever" banner and strangled someone with it. Could have marched in and screamed loud enough to curdle the potato salad. Hell, I could have called the cops. Technically, they were trespassing. But I didn't. I got in my car and left. Maybe that makes me a coward. Or maybe I just didn't trust myself not to cry in front of them. That's the honest answer. I couldn't bear the idea of asking, "Why wasn't I invited?" and watching them shrug. Or worse, laugh. Couldn't stomach the look in their eyes when they pretended I was making a big deal out of nothing. I didn't want to give them the satisfaction. They'd already taken enough. So yeah, I drove. Found some cheap hotel with clean sheets and no questions. Checked in. Took a shower so hot it could have melted the paint off the walls. Then I curled up on the bed, fully dressed, knees to my chest, textbook cliché. Tried to sleep before the weight in my chest crushed me. Spoiler alert, I didn't sleep. But I made it through the night. Barely. Thanks to some aggressive chewing on stale peanuts from the vending machine and one sarcastic text I wrote and never sent. The next morning, I checked out. Not because I had a change of heart, but because my luggage was still in the car and my toothbrush was somewhere under the passenger seat. And because, damn it, it was still my house. They'd already erased me from their party. I wasn't about to let them erase me from my life too. When I got back, the place looked spotless. Too spotless. Cushions fluffed. Counters wiped down. My throw blanket folded and draped over the couch arm like someone had Googled how to stage a house after a murder. If I hadn't seen it all with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed anything had happened. I tossed my keys into the bowl, kicked off my shoes, and sat at the kitchen table feeling like a ghost in my own damn home. Then I opened my laptop and logged into my banking app. I'd been sending my parents $425 a month ever since I got licensed. Nolan didn't know. They never flat out asked, but after a few too many comments about inflation and grocery prices, it just kind of became expected. Not anymore. One click. Transfer canceled. Then I opened my work calendar and started cleaning house. Dad's follow-up appointment? Deleted. And Myra's foot pain check-in? Gone. That cousin with shin splints who texts you up like I'm some kind of free on-call pain relief hotline? Blocked. And then I saw it, Nolan. 9:30 a.m. Tuesday. Shoulder mobility session. Quick tune-up before his softball game. I deleted it without blinking. At 9:52 p.m., my phone lit up. Nolan. I didn't even sigh. I just picked up. Hey, I said. You canceled my session? Yep. Why? I'm busy. He paused. Busy how? It's just a quick tune-up. My game's tomorrow, remember? Yep. So, my shoulder's still messed up. I'm sure you'll figure something out. Stretch it. Ice it. Call someone else. You're mad. Nope, I said, leaning back in my chair. Just got a lot going on. There was a pause. That awkward, itchy kind of silence where the other person knows they missed something important, but can't quite piece it together, and you're not about to help. You could help, he said eventually. Sure could, I replied, calm as ever. We sat there for another second, locked in that weird standoff. Then I ended the call. About an hour later, Mom called. She didn't bring up the reunion. Not even in passing. She talked about the weather. Said Nolan was stressed about some tournament. Then launched into a ramble about the home renovation show she's obsessed with. I listened. Asked about her week. Oh, nothing exciting, she said breezily. We just stayed in. I almost laughed. Almost. But instead, I said, cool, and let her go. The next morning, the phone rang again. Nolan this time. But his tone had shifted. Gone was the smugness, the casual confidence. He sounded strained, like he was trying hard not to show how much everything hurt. Are you home? He asked. Why? I'm coming over. I'm working. Please, he said. I think I really messed something up. I can't lift my arm at all now, and my back's starting to lock up. I can't even hold Caleb. Denise is freaking out. That's rough, I said. He went quiet. Then, you're seriously not gonna help me? I'm not available. Another pause. Did something happen? I said nothing. He let out a sigh like it physically hurt him. If this is about look, if you're upset, just say it. Still nothing. He kept going. We were going to tell you. Eventually. It was supposed to be look, it started as a joke. I stayed quiet. It was Denise's idea, okay? He blurted. Just a dumb suggestion at first. Then Mom got into it, and I don't know, it turned into this big thing. Honestly, we thought maybe you'd show up and it'd be funny. Like a surprise. I let the silence hang between us. Let him sit in it. After a few seconds, he asked quietly, you knew. I took a slow sip of my coffee. No idea what you're talking about. That was it. I didn't say another word. He waited, hoping I'd cry, yell, ask why they did it. But I didn't. Eventually, he hung up. That night, Mom called again. Her tone was sharper. She said Nolan was in agony. Said it wasn't fair to punish the whole family just because I was being overly sensitive. I'm busy, I told her. Then I hung up. The following day, I got a message from Uncle Terry, probably the only person in the family with a working moral compass. Or at least a halfway decent sense of decency. He said he figured I just couldn't make it. Had no idea I hadn't even been invited. I thought it was weird you weren't there, he wrote. Your name wasn't on the list. Then he forwarded me the invite. 92 names. Not one of them mine. I stared at that number for a long time, hoping it might somehow explain something. It didn't. But I saved the email anyway. Didn't respond. Didn't return any calls. I didn't block anyone, at least not yet. This wasn't some revenge plot. It was just space. Clearly, they wanted space from me. So I gave it to them. I didn't start counting the missed calls until my phone stopped accepting new ones. Final count, 113. I didn't answer a single one. Nolan texted 3 times a day that first week. His shoulder was getting worse. His back was seizing. He couldn't sleep. One message said, can't even pick up Caleb. Denise is losing it. Another said, can't believe you're being this petty. Sure you can, I thought. You just never thought I had it in me. By the second week, the texts got longer. Whinier. Desperate. He'd started seeing another physical therapist, one that actually charged him. No free sessions. No dry needling tossed in on the side. Apparently $195 per visit was ridiculous. Poor guy. Maybe he'll have to part with one of his golf watches. Or, God forbid, dip into his investment account. Mom kept calling every couple of days. When I didn't pick up, she left voicemails. Long ones. I don't understand how you could turn your back on your family like this. We've always been there for you. Have you though? Nolan is suffering, sweetheart. You're punishing him over a joke. A joke you kept from me until it blew up in your face. What kind of person holds a grudge like this? One who's tired of being a doormat. Your father's knee is acting up again. We're not asking you to work for free. Just help a little. Right. Just like always. Quietly. Gratefully. Invisibly. And then, silence. The voicemails stopped. But they showed up. I saw their car first. Parked crooked like they couldn't decide if they should commit to this little guilt trip or not. My parents stood on the porch like door-to-door evangelists. Mom clutched a canvas tote bag like it was a peace treaty. Dad had on that jacket he only wears when he's trying to come off as reasonable. I opened the door. "Hi," Mom said, forcing a smile. "Can we come in?" "No." The smile wobbled. Dad cleared his throat. "We just want to talk." "You're talking," I said. They stood there, clearly expecting me to step aside. I didn't. Dad finally said, "You've probably noticed your bank transfer didn't go through." "Yeah," I said. "That's usually what happens when it's canceled." "We were wondering if it was a mistake," he said carefully. "You've always helped out, and your mother and I are on a fixed income now. Things have gotten a little tight. Then maybe Nolan should pitch in." Silence. I let it sit there, heavy as a brick. "He's got 2 kids," Mom said, like that was some kind of exemption. "And a high 5-figure salary. Debt-free after graduation. Just had his kitchen redone. Meanwhile, I'm the one covering your bills." "Don't say it like that," she snapped. "It makes it sound like you're being exploited." I tilted my head. "Aren't I?" Her expression darkened. "This isn't you. You're not this cold. This is me," I said softly. "You just liked the version of me that was tired, quiet, and useful." She shifted the tote on her arm like she'd forgotten she was holding it. "So that's it? You're cutting us off." "I'm cutting off the version of me that let this happen." Dad sighed. "You're being emotional." "No," I said, and even smiled a little. "Now I'm being logical." They didn't get it. Of course they didn't. They just stood there blinking, like someone had unplugged the only machine they knew how to operate. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it, calm and slow. They didn't knock again. In the weeks that followed, the messages died down. Nolan's texts got shorter. Meaner. "This new therapist is garbage. Doesn't even do dry needling. Forget it." My shoulders wrecked. "You win." I didn't reply. One of my cousins messaged me out of the blue, asking if I was okay. I told her I was fine. "Just busy." She replied with a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. At some point, the family gossip network had clearly kicked into full swing. I started noticing passive-aggressive likes on my Instagram stories from people I hadn't heard from since high school graduation. One of my aunts posted a quote about forgiveness, tagged nobody, of course. Real subtle. Dad texted once to say they were thinking of selling the house and downsizing. Not asking for help, at least not directly. Just putting the idea out there like a fishing line. A week after that, Mom left a voicemail. Said Nolan wouldn't be coming by for Sunday dinners anymore. His physical therapy bills were draining their savings. She didn't sound upset. Just tired. Like she'd finally realized that Nolan wasn't about to take over the job I'd been doing behind the scenes for years. Eventually, even she stopped calling. Then something happened I didn't expect. People started reaching out, not to guilt trip me, but to apologize. It started with a message from my cousin Monica. Not the dramatic type. She usually doesn't get involved in anything unless it directly impacts her Spotify playlist. "Hey," she wrote, "is it true you weren't invited to the reunion? In your own house? That's disgusting. I'm so sorry." I had no idea. I stared at her message for a while before replying. "Yeah, it's true." She didn't try to make excuses. Didn't try to soften it. She just wrote, "You deserved better. They owe you way more than an apology." After that, it was like someone had taken a chisel to the family tree and tapped the first crack. Aunt Rita messaged next. Said she thought I must have been out of town and nearly got sick when she found out the truth. Then my cousin Marcus reached out. Said he assumed I was inside, helping with something, and now he felt like an idiot. Somewhere along the way, someone sent me a screenshot from the family group chat. Nolan had posted, "It was just a casual thing. We didn't think she'd want to come anyway. Kind of funny, T-Beach." And right under it, someone replied, "Dude, it was in her house." And just like that, sides were being taken. And they weren't taking his. A few relatives actually called, not to defend anyone, but to say, "I'm sorry." One of them said if they'd pulled that on me, I'd have burned the banner and torched the t-shirts. Another said, "Honestly, makes sense now. You were always doing more for everybody." It wasn't some grand uprising. No one spray-painted shame on my parents' garage door. But something shifted. Quietly. For real. Invites that used to go through them started coming to me directly. Some cousins stopped replying to mom's group texts altogether. A few even said they were thinking twice about going over for the holidays. Apparently, guilt spreads faster when enough people admit they were pretending not to see. And Nolan? He disappeared. Radio silence. Maybe because his new therapist doesn't do free tune-ups. Maybe because applause feels different when people stop clapping. One relative who'd been mooching off free sessions for years finally messaged me and said, "If you ever open your own practice, I want to be your first paying customer." I told them, "Thanks. I'm fully booked now." And that was it. No big speech. No breakdown. No Hollywood moment where someone realizes my worth over Thanksgiving dinner. Just this quiet change. Small, steady signals that, for once, people saw what they'd overlooked. And the best part? I didn't have to explain myself. It's been a year. I haven't spoken to my parents or Nolan since. No calls. No texts. Nothing. Word eventually reached me that they sold their house. Moved into something smaller. Apparently, living on a fixed income feels a lot more fixed when my $300 monthly donations stop rolling in. Nolan didn't offer to step in. Too busy funding his golf weekends and paying full price for therapeutic back rubs. And me? I've never been more at peace. I don't do free therapy anymore. For anyone. And strangely enough, people respect me more now because of it. I actually get invited to things. Cousins check in. Loop me in on birthdays and dinners. And when they say, "We missed you last year," I can finally tell they mean it. Life's quieter now. But it feels solid. Like it finally belongs to me. I'm done begging for a seat at a table I helped build. Still, sometimes, I catch myself wondering. Did I make the right call by walking away that day? Should I have said something? Stood up for myself louder? Or was silence the only thing they'd ever hear? Anyway, that's the story. Let me know what you think in the comments. And hey, if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.